All right, hello everybody, and happy Thursday. Oh, excuse me. We're getting through the week. That we are. I'm getting closer to my vacation. Pretty excited about that. I'll actually be able to take care of some things that I've been needing to do. But I really wanted to hop on and talk about a couple of things just real quick before I start my workday. So, wow, look at all that. That's pretty cool. It just like keeps going down. Oh, there's like caves down in there. Ah, that's so cool. I love it when you can glitch and see through some things. There's also my giant bird for chicken farm in there. Chickens, cows, they're all kind of cooped up in there, literally. Um, but anyways, no, I just really going in circles with these people. Whoops, yeah, that's right. They all end up down there. Only 32. I built this entire structure. I don't know how many layers it has, like 5 to 8, something like that. But each layer has 8 cacti that have fence posts above them. So once they reach a certain point, once they grow one unit, that breaks and then it falls in the water, which is all converging down to this single focal point to have all of the cacti drop down here into this hopper, goes in there, gets sucked right into there right away, and then into there, and then into there. So, but anyways, no, the Russia-Ukraine thing, the Putin interview. Like, I know Putin is a dictator. He's kept power for 20 years or so. Like, the fact that he has so many different, memories and instances of interacting with all sorts of different presidents, yes, that is a cause for concern. Now, is it a cause for a bunch of people to go die with American bombs and all that? I don't think so. And that's what I've been saying. And all of this stemmed from one person that actually we follow each other, this guy from Canada. He just yelled F off, like all caps to me because I posted the Putin interview. I was like, wow, that's great. That's what we need in foreign policy. Like, something comes out, like we're all curious why this invasion is happening and why it's still going on. And then we try to talk to the guy doing it, and he starts talking about, well, America helped a violent coup back in 2014, which I don't know if that's true or not. I'm actually inclined to think it is true with how we kind of meddle in other governments. It's like, hmm, we put up puppet dictators. We destroyed a lot of the country's governments down in Central and South America, which is part causing, or in part causing all of this mass immigration to the U.S. Like, because the countries stink. Like, we put up these rulers that had a bunch of promises and promises not kept, probably. Like, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of America's style. We don't like to keep promises, and I don't know. But the main thing that and I wasn't even intending this. I still support Ukraine. Like I support Ukraine's independence, just like I support Taiwan's independence, just like I support America's independence. We did really good with breaking away from the motherland, like from the British Empire. Like, we went off and did our own thing and look at us now. But everybody has to feel good about it. Like, all this animosity, like, I think there's a lot of different ways we could go about it. If we removed all the trade tariffs, sanctions, and all that from Russia, and like actually started trading with them again and worked with them to help make a better Earth, like that would make a lot more sense. But instead, somebody keeps refusing and wants to keep us in this Cold War, and I think it's because Putin's, a dictator, and he needs to be voted out, and they need to elect a new leader. I think that would go far. But then if that happens, we need to back down ourselves. Like putting a missile defense system in Ukraine, that is very similar to what they did with Cuba back in the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like, I don't know, defensive, offensive, there could be the argument there, but basically you're putting something that would help defeat and destroy another country on their doorstep, and you expect them to be okay with that? And NATO continuing to expand? And look at it from this lens. What has NATO done in the last 20 years? Well, NATO itself hasn't done a whole lot, but America bombed and destroyed so much of the Middle East, killed about 400,000 civilians, killed well over 1 million people. I don't know, actually, I don't know. I'd have to look at the facts again, but like I was saying 20,000 for a while there, and I was like, that seems really low. And then I found another, like multiple sources that said, no, over 20 years it's closer to 400,000. Either way, we were over there for 20 years, you know, like almost the entirety of a lot of people's lives. And we were just chilling, blowing people up, like, walking around with our guns and everything. And like, women, children, men, didn't matter. Like, they were all just targets. And We blew up a hospital. They say it was an accident, but it doesn't matter. It's still blown up. Like, why are we dropping bombs all over there? And then same with Israel doing now. Like, yes, Hamas is terrible, but look at all these like kids and stuff you're blowing up, and like schools, churches, mosques, like all of that. Yeah, it's just it's sick. It's sick and it's wrong. And I don't know. But either way, my point with NATO is I could see why Russia would be getting a little scared if America just did like a 20-year stunt like we did, killed all those people, bombed all those things, and flexed all their military might across the world. Yeah, I'd be a little nervous too. I'd be like, well, maybe we should reclaim some of that wealth and prosperity we had with Ukraine. You know, maybe we need to get that back. Like, okay, just kidding. Let's take that back. And then I heard that it wasn't even done in good faith. Like rigged elections, like a violent coup, like all of these things. If true, then it's like it's no wonder. It's. Anyways, and this lady thinks that she's all in the right, and she's got a master's in foreign diplomacy, and she even admitted, she's like, yes, the U.S. committed war crimes in the Afghanistan war. Like, okay, well, and you don't think people are not worried about that? And then it's this lady and a guy from Canada, the one that just said F off on all caps, like, didn't even care to like look at the video, didn't even care to like ask, questions or talk about it. He's just like, no, F you, like, how dare you? And that is blinded by politics. That there's people dying over there. That's what I'm concerned about. Like, I'm okay with shipping billions of dollars in like aid, medicine, food, building construction supplies, like rebuilding things. That's all fine and good, but let's stop sending them bombs. Like, let's and whoever told Zelensky not to negotiate with Russia, and I'm pretty sure that's Boris Johnson. Like, that's what Putin said in the interview. He was like, we're ready to talk. We're ready to negotiate. We're ready, like, we don't want to be fighting either. We're people. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is these are all humans doing this stuff. It's not some boogeyman. It's not some, like, this or that. It's a bunch of people following a leader that thinks that he has his country's best interests at heart. Whether he does or not, okay. But sending a bunch of bombs and helping destroy all this stuff and then leaving. It's like a person that comes and trashes a party and then just dips out. Like, when are we going to start sending hundreds of billions of dollars to the Middle East to rebuild everything that we blew up? Like, how are we not creating 10 times more terrorists that are going to rise up and attack us in the future by destroying all their homes and everything, and they'd be like, "Oops, sorry, war's over, bye." Like, what are you doing? I mean, you break it, you buy it. Like, and that's what most of the rest of the world. And again, South Park for the win. When the kids go to, I think it's Iraq. I don't know. It's one of the Middle Eastern countries, and they go there and they start talking to a kid about their age from that country. And he's like, over 2/3 of the world hates you because you don't realize over 2/3 of the world hates you. Like, and BRICS is forming. What was that? Brazil, Russia, Iran, China, and now Saudi Arabia. and and there's more and more countries joining every day. Basically, like the opposite of NATO. Like, we did NATO because we were afraid of the Soviet Union. That's what Canada even said. Now, I'm sure he slipped up, but he's like, NATO was formed to fight the USSR, which dissolved back in the 80s. I'm pretty sure it was the 80s. I don't know. Late 70s, early 80s, early 90s, whatever. It's gone. There's no more communist rule. Now, granted, I can see why people are skeptical if Putin's still the president after 20 years. Like, did they really disappear or did they just change names? Like, so I think no matter what, Putin has to step down. He has to admit he had a good run. He ruled for a long time. People loved him, people hated him, whatever. But he needs to go away to prove that their country is voting and cycling out their leaders so we don't run the risk of another Hitler or another. Oh, gosh. It's just, it's mind-boggling. Like, how fierce people will stick by their guns, quite literally, about us arming and encouraging war. Like, the what? No, we're supposed to be like making peace. We're supposed to be stopping death and destruction and violence. Like, this goes against safety, security too. Because like I said, every house in the Middle East that we bombed, that whatever family survived from that is now potentially a terrorist. They are now potentially going to try to attack us because guess what? We blew up their house. Wait, did I accidentally push the cart back the other way? Come on. It's the whole reason. I mean, not the whole reason. I wanted to heal up my axe. I guess I need to heal up the shovel too. But either way, it's just that's what's alarming. You should be able to be a Democrat and still speak out and be like, hey, I don't really like what's going on here. I'm concerned. Without people jumping down their throat like, oh, traitor and all this, and how dare you, and F you, and this and that. And like, it's like, whoa, now I'm kind of more inclined to ask more questions. Like, if that's how that's met, like, what's being hidden? What's, being swept under the rug? Like, death, destruction. I don't know, and that's why I like following. I follow a Chinese government official from Ireland, but she represents China. I think she's like the diplomat in Ireland, um, but no, just to see an outside perspective of like what other countries are talking about, not just what Biden's saying, not just what the Democrat Party is saying, like what's the rest of the world saying? And don't get me wrong, I liked Obama. I voted for him both times, but guess what? There's a lot of blood on his hands. And then Biden, what? Like it was like one of his first weeks in his presidency. He bombed a car with like full of kids. Are you kidding me? And nobody says anything. Nobody's like, hey, whoa, what? No, let's stop doing that. Or say a sorry. I don't know if he apologized to the family that just lost a bunch of kids, or the country. I'm sorry we killed a bunch of kids. That wasn't our intention. We thought there was a terrorist in there. Like, it's if any other country, literally any other country did that crap to us, we would be invading them tomorrow. No, tonight. Like, we would be boots on the ground there. Like, how dare you blow up a car full of our kids? Oh, but then there was a shooting, and then, like, what, like 30 people got shot, including like 9 kids. It's maddening. And the communication. Like, we are so blinded by wanting to support our guy, our person, that we will ignore people dying around the world. Not only ignore it, we'll keep fueling the fire. Oh, you want to negotiate? No, you don't. All of Ukraine is Ukraine. Slava Ukraine. Here's a bunch of guns and bombs. Like, what kind of psychopath would be okay with that? It's and money's money. Money comes and goes. Like, we can fix money. What we can't fix is a dead person. That's what we can't fix. We cannot bring back the dead. We cannot bring back limbs, arms, legs, all these things getting blown off. And that's if they're lucky. I mean, death is most assuredly guaranteed. Like, but maybe they survive only with losing an arm or a leg, and then they still only see a few minor changes down on the end of the pipeline. Like, it doesn't really affect like. Then I keep trying to figure out, well, why is rule under Putin so bad? I mean, yes, I think homosexuality is illegal. I know weed's still illegal over there. But look at what we're doing. We just passed the same-sex marriage law. I want to say within this decade or last decade. Like, we just did that. Women's voting. Like, there's people talking about rolling that back. Like, abortion, the right to choose. We rolled that back. Like, all of these things. It's throwing stones in a glass house, basically. Like, you want to be the beacon of freedom and hope? Stop doing such stupid things. And I know it's only half this country most of the time, or like government or Congress is constantly arguing with itself and, divided and all that, but it's no excuse. Just like when I was arguing with Soldier and Lawyer, we were talking about like intentions and all that. And basically I said something like, well, if a car crash happens, no one intended for it to happen, but it still happens. And in fact, I used that in some logic recently with a personal matter. I was having to deal with somebody and like, it was nobody's intention that all this stuff was happening, but nobody was stopping it either. And it's like, because it all seemed accidental, like, what are we to do? Well, you do preventative measures. That's what you do. Also, okay, I was going to say, I can change some of those nuggets into ingots. Also, I love this, the wall of art, which changes whenever the filter goes away. Is that a rock? It's like a pet rock in an aquarium. Yeah. So, nice. It's pretty cool. And here's this farm. Let's go ahead and... I mean, now... Ooh, I just realized. We have a ton of this stuff. We can actually make a legit farm. And this stuff is good for trading with... I want to say librarians. Or no, 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 the dudes that um oh, we do have a lot. Nice. So we can take a bunch of that soul soil that we got or whatever. See, with this texture pack, it looks like the stuff with the circle. So without this texture pack, it's either the one that has skulls on it or yeah. Also, take a look at that. I need to finish like that, maybe do this whole side. And then what I want to do is I want to, like, straight from Andarius, go like about 5 or 6 more spots out to the east and then have like a little bit there. But I want to leave a lot unexplored because once it's loaded in and once it's explored, it's saved, it's stored to that in this world. So, like if a new update comes up, you see that little pink dot there and then, where is it? The pink dot there and this and that, which this is a beautiful area. Um, those wouldn't happen because the cherry blossom was a new addition in one of the updates. The maps would just stay as they were, and then you'd have to travel even further to go out. I don't know. I just think that this realm, or this map, is going to be ever growing. So I don't know. That's my rant right now. Like I hate that just because I ask a question or I'm concerned or hey, this actually starts to make a little bit of sense. It's just the automatic reaction is, how dare you, and throw the baby out with the bathwater and all of this, and I'm such a horrible person. And she even said that I was mansplaining to her. And I was like, just because I start to make some sense, then you got to pull the mansplaining card. Like, what? No, stay in your lane. Like, I'm not mansplaining anything. I'm just debating. And if you can't debate with somebody and you have to resort to sexism, like, and especially, and why I'm like pretty upset about that, is I've been arguing with people that women should keep their right to vote. Like, I mean, that doesn't give me a free pass on everything, and I know I still need to be respectful, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's like, who are you arguing with? Like, uh, I mean, I am still concerned that people think that women shouldn't vote. Like, that's just ridiculous. So a person is a person. We learned our lesson with the 3/5 clause. Like, a person deserves one whole vote, one whole person. I mean, that's part of what you get for living in this country. And that's your civic duty. Like, it's your duty to weigh in on things, show logic, ask questions, poke holes in things. Because otherwise, we might do another 20-year war where another 500,000 people die. Like, is that what anybody wants? No. I mean, and what happened with that? Why did that even persist? We had all these presidents, and I'm sorry, Trump was right there with everybody. He claims that he was like a anti-war president. He started the withdrawal of troops, but then he refused to brief the Biden administration coming in. You know, and I don't even think he ever did. I just think he just flat out just didn't do it. Like all presidents are supposed to pass the torch, be like, "Hey, now that you're coming on, here's what you need to know. Here's where we're at." You know, stand on my shoulders and see farther than I saw. Do more than I did because you're now in charge. That's just responsible transfer of power, which didn't happen. So, I mean, that doesn't give Biden a free pass to just do whatever he wants either. Like, people aren't dumb. I mean, enough people could have been like, okay, well, if Trump's not going to officially brief you here, here's the lowdown. Like, it's human nature to help people out. I don't know. But having lived with Muslims from Saudi Arabia, that gave me a very good outsider perspective on everything as things were happening in real time. When that hospital got blown up, they were the first to tell me, be like, hey, why did your government blow up this hospital? And then I looked at him, I was like, no, that wasn't us. We would never blow up a hospital. Then I look at his phone, oh, we blew up a hospital. And then you can look it up, you can Google it, it's there. We're not bragging about it, but it's like, don't throw stones in glass houses. You know, take self-inventory before you start pointing fingers. And I'm no saint, I know that. But I'm just someone who asks questions, and in IT, you can't have emotions in it. In fact, having emotions in problem solving in IT is dangerous because it's going to be counterproductive. It's you run the risk of not solving the problem or only giving half measures or, you know, putting band-aids on. There's all sorts of problems with that. You need to be able to look at the problem as a whole, figure out a few proposed solutions, you know, determine which one you like the best, which one's going to cause the least headaches down the road, because, you know, if you don't fix it all the way, scalable solutions. Now, I still think we're just profiting off of making guns, making bombs. 800 billion a year. Could you imagine what we could do with 800 billion? We could completely first world any country with an $800 billion price tag. Like, we could just take that 800 billion. I know you can't do it all because you still have to pay the military, you have to pay the people that rank up, like all of that. So you can't just get rid of all of it, but maybe shrink it down to 100 billion. Would that be enough to pay people's pay? And one of the other important things about the Putin interview was Putin was talking about the only reason Russia keeps upping their arsenal is because America keeps doing it. And that makes perfect sense. Like, America is developing so many different ways to kill people from all over the world and from space. Like, we have all this stuff. Like, and wouldn't it make you nervous if a country that just killed a 500,000 people in the Middle East was now suddenly building a bunch of military stuff on your doorstep and basically making it to where at any given moment, if they decided to flip a switch, they could invade you and just take over? Like, that's it. And all of this is miscommunication, in my opinion. We're all afraid of the other guy or the other person. I mean, and really, it would be better if we had a few gals in the mix. Like, if we had a woman president. I do wish that Hillary would have become president for that, but I was so mad at the DNC because Bernie was clearly the popular one. Bernie was clearly the one that everybody wanted, even bipartisan. Like, there was a bunch of Republicans I knew that was like, Bernie wouldn't be all that bad. Like, I mean, he's calling out a lot of the Democrats' scandals. Like, he's not afraid to speak out against his own party and be like, hey, you know what, guys? This is messed up. This is wrong. And I mean, guys, like, inclusive of women. We're still working on that. But, like, it's just exhausting. And same with us. We need to start cycling out term limits or using term limits and cycling out Congress. Because that's the reason that we had 20 years of war. It's like, wow, we got a lot of money coming in from this. A lot of our defense contractors are getting paid. We're creating jobs. We're creating, military jobs. Like, we've got a struggle. We've got a boogeyman to, protect against. And that's why we're keeping Russia alive as a Soviet Union. Like I said, that Canadian, even he had a slip up. He's like, we built NATO to defend against the USSR. I was like, great. The USSR is done. Can we disband NATO now? Like, can we just agree that everybody should stop fighting? Let's work on strengthening the UN. Let's work on removing all the barriers to trade, all of the tariffs, all of the taxes, all of it. Just get rid of it. Why do we need it anymore? Like, why do we keep punishing people for the sins of their fathers and their mothers? Like, for the transgressions of their parents' generation. Why do we continue to punish them? Do we just want to keep up this struggle? That's what it seems like. And I could be way off base. There could be a whole thing like Putin's having like people executed at gunpoint or something. Kind of like Trump wants to do. Huh. And then it's like, oh, you're a good Christian, but yeah, and granted that's baby with the bathwater too. Like, for all of the things that Trump like criticized with, there are people that do like him because he talks in a way that they can understand. He says all the great talking points. He plans things out. He schemes, and he's totally full of it. I was hearing, who was it that I was hearing the other day? I think it was like Mike Pence or someone that was close to him back when he was in power. And they were even saying, like, I honestly believe he believes all the lies that come out of his mouth, and he's just wishy-washy. Like, one day he could say one thing and totally believe it. Oh, it was Ted Cruz. That's what it was. You could hook a lie detector up to Trump, and he would pass with flying colors because he believes the lies that he says. And so I think that's what you call a narcissist and all that. But I hate putting labels out there because then if you start labeling people with like disorders and stuff, or like mansplaining, it hurts. Then it's like, oh crud, do I need to take some self-inventory? Like, how bad am I? Am I just some evil person now? No. I just dared to ask a question and post an interview. And it wasn't a great interview because Tucker was afraid of getting killed. Like, you go to a place where we're kind of at war with them. You're behind enemy lines and you're asking some hard questions. And I think he even did push, but his pushback was about the life of that one journalist, which Putin pretty much said, no, we're going to release him when we get a good deal. Like, there's a lot of people that we want released, and it's not, and that's fair. Like, mm. Same with the basketball star that got caught with liquid weed, like the really concentrated weed. they didn't care that they had a bunch of that she had drugs on her. They cared because, ooh, what can we get out of this? You know, you made the mistake of bringing an illegal substance to a country that it's still banned. And how dumb is that? I'm sorry. Like I work in a study abroad university where we have to constantly tell our students marijuana is illegal, cannabis is illegal in a lot of the places we go to. So guess what? You're not allowed to. I mean, granted, they can drink because the local laws allow if they're 18. The local laws allow drinking of 18 and up in most places, most everywhere but America. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's just it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. It's like I and she keeps scatter plotting. I guess this is why it's annoying to debate people that don't have the blue check because the blue check allows you to write long tweets or long posts. And I'm sorry, it is XApp now. Elon Musk paid a lot of money to change the name. It's XApp. I don't care that it changed from Twitter to XApp. The dude bought it. I mean, if you buy it, you can change the name to whatever you want. Like that's kind of how I see that. But and if anything, I would have never seen that interview with Putin. I would have still been right there with him, been like, Putin's the devil, let's kill Putin and all this. In fact, I seriously did. I was like wondering like how could we not just do like an assassination and just end this thing? And that's messed up. Like without having all the facts and everything. Because right there, if America was involved in the coup in 2014, then that's the smoking gun right there for me to be like, you know what? Pff, maybe Russia deserves all of Ukraine. Like, what are we doing over there, like playing politics with other people? You know, we did that with Central and South America, and look how good that turned out. I mean, we made all these promises, and then we're like, oh, sorry, never mind. That was a different administration. Screw you guys, we're done. So, I don't know. I don't know. Everybody just needs to stop killing. That's the big thing. If we could just stop building weapons, if we could have that global government that works together, you know, bring people in on these issues, be like, you know what? Okay, let's tackle this together as a unified Earth. Then we could save hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars. 2 years, you'd save over $1 trillion just from America's spending. And granted, we spend the next more than the next like 10 countries combined, or some ridiculous stat like that. Oh, is that a panda? Yeah, we have some pretty neat glow caves over here. What are you doing? Just hanging out, huh? Wait, where did the... Anyways, that's what really grinds my gear this morning, because like I do talk with a lot of MAGA Republicans and a lot of other Republicans, rhinos, whatever, and like and these are the things they bring up. They're like, well, what would you do if this was you? And then I actually have to take a step back and think about it. Be like, okay, let's say BRICS did a 20-year war and invaded the Middle East and killed a bunch of people, dropped a bunch of bombs, displaced a bunch of people, completely destroyed cities. I would be worried about them expanding and becoming bigger. Like I'd be like, hey, we need to work on that. Like that cannot happen again. And I feel like that's what Russia's doing. Like they're trying to reclaim some stuff so they still have a say in the things that are going on in the world. So something like the Iraq war doesn't happen. And who's going to fix that? Who's going to pay for that? All this stuff that we broke. Because those are people too. Those aren't animals. Those aren't pigs. Those aren't dogs. Like, those are people in the Middle East that we just bombed the crap out of their houses. Like, okay. Like, and what are they supposed to think? Oh, yay, go America. I don't have a house now. My brother died. My sister died. Like, ugh. All over religion and books. Like, basically. Religion books that the people that wrote those books, if they could see what was going on today, they'd probably be like, you know what, never mind, I take it back. Forget about that. Stop killing each other. Like Jesus. Literally, Jesus jumping, whatever. Like, stop it. In fact, the Ten Commandments are pretty simple, and I argued that a lot with the lawyer and the soldier. And I didn't want the soldier to feel too bad because PTSD is what we're finally fixing with mushrooms and DMT here in Colorado. But the fact is you can't turn a blind eye and call yourself a good Christian if you killed somebody. That's one of the 10 rules that you're supposed to follow as a Christian. And with Islam, I know there's the pillars of Islam or the main like things that you're supposed to pay attention to. In fact, let's see how much time do we have? Well, okay, it's almost 30 minutes, but basically the pillars of Islam, let's look that up real quick and then we'll end this video because this is important. So, the pillars of Islam, what are the main things that they say, hey, do this and don't do this? Sorry, my phone's a little slow because I've got over like 100 tabs. Poor Android. Let's see. The pillars of Islam. And Iman. Iman, that's who it was. Iman. Because um, there was this lady that commented on one of my posts because I tagged world peace. And she's like, have you heard of Iman? Okay, the five pillars of Islam: the declaration of faith, prayer, almsgiving, fasting, and pilgrimage. Okay. It doesn't say spread by the sword. Like, that's not the main thing. The main things are you got to declare what you believe in, pray, so reflect. And I honestly think that prayer is good for everybody. Even you could call it meditation, whatever. Time for self reflection, time to be like, hold up, let me think about this. Just like a computer needs a reset every now and then to clear the volatile memory that's, clogging things up. We all need to take a sec. You don't have to call it prayer. You don't have to be talking to some invisible person. You could be talking to yourself and be like, hey, you know what? Or hey, A-Rye, we need to think about this. And then fasting, well, that's actually just good for your health too. Like, I mean, I think I should probably try some fasting. Oh, it just seems so unpleasant. And pilgrimage. So pilgrimage, I can tell that that would be more like it's to Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia, and which is a country thinking about legalizing alcohol, by the way. Um, and it's not much farther behind that they're going to legalize cannabis. They're going to realize, you know what? The religion is still good. Let's not throw all of Islam out, but let's change a few things. Let's make some edits and be like modern Islam, the new Islam, or just like the New Testament versus the Old Testament. Like almost everybody you talk to says, well, the Old Testament has a lot of crazy stuff in there. We don't really pay attention to that. The New Testament is more about peace and compassion and all that. And yet, again, and I know we're not a Christian nation. We work very hard to separate church and state. But at the same time, how does the rest of the world supposed to see it? Well, Christianity is still the main religion of America. And lo and behold, we killed 500,000 innocent people. Not combatants, not Taliban, innocent people. 400,000 that didn't want war one way or the other. They could care less who's in charge. Like, they just want to live to see the next day. Bombed, shot, blown up, like all this stuff. And for what? Yay, democracy. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, democracy should be everywhere. Nobody should live under fascist rule. But, again, once Putin steps down, all of this goes away. That's it. It all goes away. I mean, as long as the next person doesn't take over for another 20 years and becomes Putin 2.0. But still, it's like, I don't know. Anyways, that's my time. Ta-ta for now. I will see you in the next one. And just try to be kind with each other. Like, if someone says something that you don't agree with, and the lady's really doing a better job about that until she dropped the mansplaining thing, because she could see that I was starting to make some sense. And she's like, nope, mansplaining. Like, what? No, don't be like that. Especially to me. Like, that's not my intent. If it is, I thought that was a debate. Like, if you're trying to explain people and points of view to people, it's not mansplaining, that's discussion. Anyways, then the Canadian, he's just like, F off, and like, we built NATO to fight the Soviet Union. Good, it's gone. Now NATO should go away. Alright, ta-ta for now. I'll see you on the next one.